Aloha kako. Welcome and good evening. My name is James Eustace, and I'm the president of the Waimea Community Association. Thank you to those joining us online tonight for our regular monthly Waimea Community Association town meeting. Tonight, we'll be hearing important updates regarding a number of different topics as they relate to the challenges our community faces during this time. The Waimea Community Association normally holds monthly town meetings on the first Thursday of each month, but with the holiday weekend earlier this July and our goal of wanting to hear more about the recent close of the state legislature, we decided to hold this meeting later in the month. Our goal is to return to normal meetings going forward, but we will always keep you posted if anything changes. I encourage you to like, follow, subscribe to the Waimea Community Association Facebook page, Instagram, and YouTube channel. You may also find relevant information and resources on our website at waimeatown.org. We strive to keep our accounts active and up to date. At this point, I would like to recognize the Waimea Community Association board members, our Vice President, Michael Donnelly, our Treasurer, Louis Dubois, our Secretary, Frankie Pang, our Assistant Secretary, Patti Cook, and our directors, Nancy Carr-Smith, Riley Smith, Lonnie Olson-Chung, David Greenwell, and Llewellyn Kumalai. The Waimea Community Association Board is grateful for the support shown by the community to hold virtual town meetings. During the month of June, we held a series of virtual forums highlighting the candidates seeking election for Hawaiʻi County Mayor, Hawaiʻi County Prosecuting Attorney, Hawaiʻi County Council District 1, and Hawaiʻi County Council District 9. Thank you all for your interest in viewing and sharing these recordings, as it was our hope that in holding these forums that our neighbors, families, and friends could learn more about the individuals seeking elected office. You are welcome to revisit these videos on the Waimea Community Association Facebook page or up on the WCA YouTube channel. The Waimea Community Association is a nonprofit organization that strives to promote open participation by all of the Waimea community, develop leadership, and support the smart growth of the region. If you'd like to support the work we have done and help continue our effort in connecting with our community, you are more than welcome to donate and join as a member. If this is something that interests you and you would like to receive more information about this, please email us at waimeacommunityassociation@gmail.com or visit our website at waimeatown.org and submit a contact us form, and we will be in touch with you. As mentioned, tonight we'll be hearing some important updates about the impact on our community, especially during this time of COVID-19. We will begin with a few community policing updates from our South Guadalupe District Police Captain, Sherry Bird, and we will then hear some valuable information about voting in the Hawaiʻi State primary election, especially with the transition to vote by mail, the new vote by mail system, from one of our WCA board members, Patti Cook. As we move into the main portion of our agenda, we will first have an opportunity to learn more about our Waimea schools and their plans during this challenging time. We are grateful to be joined by and hear from representatives and administrators from 6 of our Waimea primary and secondary schools. We'll be hearing updates from Waimea Elementary School Principal Scott Tamura, Waimea Middle School Principal Janice English, Waimea Country School Head of School Amy Salling, Kanu Aina Elementary School Interim Principal Keomailani Case, and Secondary School Interim Principal Kanoa Castro, and ʻOha, the Virtual Learning Program Interim Principal Nicole Ryan. And Parker School Head of School, the new Head of School there at Parker School, Mr. Stephen Dunn, and Hawaii Preparatory Academy Director of Studies, Dr. Amy Cole. And lastly, we are grateful to have Representative David Tarnas join us this evening to share a wealth of knowledge about the recent close of the state legislative session. At this time, I would like to start off our virtual meeting by welcoming Captain Sherry Bird to the floor to give a community policing update. Mahalo, Captain Bird. The floor is yours.
All right, good evening, everybody. First, for those that were waiting for our July newsletter, I apologize for not getting it out. We've had technical difficulties, so working on it, hoping to get the newsletter out for August. As far as crime stats for the month of June, we had no robberies, we had no stolen vehicles. We did have 4 burglaries. However, of those 4, 3 of them we were able to close with persons being arrested and charged. We did have 1 vehicle that was broken into. It was unlocked. Somebody reached in and took some cash. So just a reminder, if we can keep our car doors locked, the windows. You know, thefts are often crimes of opportunity, so let's not give them an opportunity to steal. For our traffic stats, more vehicles out on the roadway, and with that, we've had an increase in traffic accidents. So for June, we had 9 major accidents and 13 minor accidents. So most of those are attributed to inattention and misjudgment. So just reminding everybody, let's be aware of the vehicles that are in front of us and back of us. Keep a safe distance between yourself and the car in front of you. Adhere to the posted traffic signs and signals. Stay off of our electronic devices while we're driving, and let's buckle up. I did want to touch a little bit on the reports of the uptick of missing children on our island. I just want to say, plain and simple, we do not have an uptick of children going missing. We do have children who do run away from home, and each of them have their own reasons for doing so. They could be unhappy with rules, discipline, conflicts in the household, you know, drug use, possibly being abused. Perhaps they want to be with that boyfriend or girlfriend that they're not allowed to be with at home. And sometimes they tell the officers why they ran away. Sometimes they don't. But I do want everyone to know that if they do disclose to officers any criminal acts, we will definitely investigate those allegations to our fullest extent. And I did want to point out that previously when our department disseminated our media releases involving runaways, although in our police reports we classified them as runaways, the media releases, the header would list them as missing persons or missing children. So we've recognized how this could lead to some confusion. So we've actually remedied that. And so if you notice now, our media releases will list runaways as runaways and not missing children. I want to cover some statistics involving the runaway cases real quick. 2016 calendar year, we had 458 runaway cases. 2017, 499. 2018, 477. 2019, 417. And then up until June 1st of 2020, we've had 152. So currently, as of today, island-wide, we have 12 runaway juveniles who are currently still being sought. If you were to visit our department website at hawaiipolice.com, you can read the media releases. If you don't subscribe to Nixle, the messaging alert system, I'd encourage everyone to do so, and you can find that on our department website as well. And then along those lines, I wanted to touch a little bit on social media. Social media is great. It provides a platform for all of us to connect and communicate, friends, family, groups, good thing. But at the same time, it also provides a platform for basically anyone can type or video anything they want to, whether that information is true or not, and then disseminate that information with just a simple click of the button. And with that click of the button, it reaches, you know, a great audience that's out there in the internet world. And that sometimes doing that, it can have unintended consequences, which when that information is false, sometimes it's not good. So with that in mind, I just ask everybody to get your information from official news sources, our police department's media releases, the Nixle, and if appropriate, go ahead and call the police department and ask to talk to an officer. I think that's all I have. Thank you, everybody. Please stay safe and please stay healthy.
Mahalo, Captain Bird. Thank you for spending time to address the community and give us updates. Much appreciated. Next, I'd like to welcome our Waimea Community Association board member, Patti Cook, and our Assistant Secretary as well, to present some information on the Hawaiʻi State primary election, which will be decided in a little over 3 weeks here. So mahalo, Patti, the floor is yours here. I'll make sure you're unmuted here.
Appreciate this opportunity to talk about voting. I think by now most everyone who's logged on tonight has received their ballot in the mail. If you haven't, it'll be there in the next day or two. So I'm going to really talk about the 4 things that you can easily do to void your ballot. Most importantly, turn it over. There's races on both sides. On one side are all of the county and Office of Hawaiian Affairs races. Those are nonpartisan, and you can vote for anybody. But on the other side are the party races. So it's the individual parties choosing their candidates that go to the general election. You have to stay in the party. You can't jump around. And if you do, your ballot's voided. So please be careful when you vote that you don't cross over, because otherwise the ballot's dead. The second thing that's really possible to jam up your ballot is that you must, once you do the voting, you put it in the security sleeve, the green sleeve, and the sleeve goes in the mailing envelope. You must sign the back of the envelope, the outside of the envelope. It has your name there and it has your signature there. But they throw it through the machine to scan. If there's no signature, the ballot just goes to the side and never gets counted. Some people are uncomfortable about having that signature out in the open. You can certainly put this whole in an envelope in another envelope and mail it, but now you have to put stamps on it. This is already prepaid. There's a bunch of stuff going around on the internet saying you got to add stamps. That's not true. It's all prepaid. So stick it in the envelope. The last way that you can jam up your vote is that it must really be mailed by about the 3rd or 4th of August. In the envelope we got from the state, it says August 6th. That's not correct because it takes longer than that for us to get mailed to Honolulu. So please, August 3rd, August 4th is when you should mail it. However, if you woke up election morning, primary election day is Saturday, August 8th, and there's the ballot sitting on your kitchen table, there will be a secure voter drop box at the Waimea Police Station. Thank you, Captain Bird. But it'll be there. It looks like the big drop boxes like we have at the post office that's blue, except this is going to be tan. There are secure drop boxes all the way around the island. You can also take your ballot to one of the walk-in voter service centers in Hilo and Kona. If someone you know hasn't registered to vote or didn't get a ballot, if they didn't get a ballot and they think they should have, they should call right away. Don't wait till election day. But if they haven't registered, they can walk in and register at Kona or Hilo 10 days before the actual elections. Starting July 27th, they can walk in and vote. They have to take a driver's license or a passport with them or a state ID, and you need to know your social security number. But anybody can walk in and register and vote. Super important. This, in fact, impacts everything we are and do, whether it's our schools, our parks, our playgrounds, our social services, our healthcare. Voting impacts all of that, and I kind of really do believe don't vote, don't grumble. Thank you very much for having us.
Mahalo, Patti. Appreciate that update there. Yeah, it's very important to note that Saturday, August 8th for Hawaiʻi State primary election is a critical day in our elections process. Many of the competitive seats will be determined by that date, especially if those candidates reach a simple majority of 50+1 of those votes. They'll be determined the victor in the primary election there.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, Patti. Okay, so for this next portion of our meeting tonight, we'll be hearing from our Waimea school administrators about the plans and steps that they're undertaking to create a safe learning environment for students, faculty, staff, families, and in turn, the Waimea community. As mentioned, we are grateful to hear from 6 different primary and secondary schools that reside right here in Waimea. Before I welcome our first guest, I would like to mention that the administrators and the schools that you'll be hearing from each have their own guidelines and policies that they have been tasked to follow. These academic institutions also differ in structure from public to charter to independent. With the challenges presented by COVID-19 to our communities, the situation and plans shared here may be subject to change, and that decisions will be made in accordance to public health guidance, the law, a particular school's mission, and overall community safety. If you do have a concern or a question for any of the schools or administrators that present this evening, I would encourage you to reach out to them and their schools directly. In the end, the Waimea Community Association Board wanted to provide our schools an opportunity to share with the community about the procedures and actions they will be taking during this time to help carry on the task of educating our keiki while also considering the health and safety of the community. So to begin, I'd like to welcome, for our Waimea Schools update portion here, I would like to welcome our Waimea Elementary School Principal, Mr. Scott Tamura. Scott, the floor is yours, and you're ready to begin whenever you are. Just make sure you're unmuted when you're ready.
Thank you very much, President Eustace and the rest of the Waimea Community Association Board. I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you also to our community for helping to keep us safe during this time and working together. It is the work of the community and the combined work that we are doing that is helping to keep everybody safe and helping us to move forward during this very uncertain time. Waimea Elementary, we are moving forward with our reopening plan, and we are planning for students to come back to campus on August 4th. We are going to provide two instructional options for students. One is going to be a blended option where students are going to be on campus for 2 or 3 days and then at home for 2 or 3 days. We are also offering an online only option for students where they would receive all of their instruction at home. When students are coming to campus during their blended days, if that is the option that parents are choosing, we're going to make sure that we keep our students and our staff in cohorts. And a lot of times right now you're hearing the Department of Health talk about ʻOhana bubbles and limiting limiting and controlling interaction with other classes and making sure our ʻOhana bubbles are intact. We're going to try that as much as possible. During meal times, keeping our ʻOhana bubbles or keeping those classrooms together. During lunch times, during meal times, during recess times, when we are transitioning between classes, we're going to try and keep those cohorts, those ʻOhana bubbles together as much as possible to limit interaction with others and to prevent spread. When students are on campus, we're going to be offering them an A-B schedule, and that's actually ABC. We're going to split half of our student population into an A group, and half into a B group, and then the other half into, half into an A group, half into a B group, and we're going to actually offer a C day, which is going to be on Wednesday, and that is going to be for students that need extra. So our students that are identified as special ed, English language learners, migrant students, disadvantaged learners, students that have trouble learning online are going to be offered a third day of instruction on Wednesday. How we're splitting that up is students in A group are going to be split with the last names of A to KA. Students in B group, last names starting in KE to Z. And then we're going to make a couple of adjustments. We do know that we have some families with mixed last names, and we will make some adjustments for that. During the first 9 days of instruction, August 4th to 14th, we're going to be doing half days, and this is going to be from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock. During this time, we're going to be looking at assessing students, seeing how they are doing. We're also going to be providing a lot of relationship building and SEL or social emotional components for students, because it is going to be their return from school from the longest break that they have had. We're also going to use the afternoon on those first 9 days to help our teachers plan protocols, adjust protocols, and also train for the remainder of the school year. When students are in campus, we're going to ask parents, and this is where we can use a lot of community help. We want to ask parents to conduct a wellness check before coming to school. If students have a fever, are coughing, have sore throat, shortness of breath, headaches, muscle pain, or a loss of taste or smell, we're going to ask that they keep them home. And so if you can also put that message out, please do that wellness check prior to coming to school. If a student is in school and becomes sick, we're going to have that student come to the health room. We're going to have an isolated area that the student will be escorted to, and we're going to have that student wait to be picked up. If a student is sent home due to illness, we're going to ask that that student remain symptom-free for 24 hours before returning to school. If students are going to be choosing our online only option, we're going to use a program called Acelis. And if you want information, it's acelis.com. But it is an online program that is going to be offering video lessons with follow-up activities for students to participate in. So students that are choosing our online only option will be participating in Acelis, but they will also be having check-ins with our Waimea Elementary School teachers. Meals, we will still be serving breakfast and lunch, and we're going to have students pick up meals, which is going to be a grab and go style. They're going to pick up meals from the cafeteria and return back to their classrooms to consume those meals. We're going to have adults watching students in the classrooms. Students who are not on campus, whether they are on their off day on an AB schedule or whether they're choosing to be online only, they are still eligible to come to campus and come to the cafeteria to pick up that grab and go meal. So students that are not on campus will be able to still be fed a breakfast and a lunch. And in addition to that, we are continuing on with our community eligibility program. We just got notification of that. So every student that is enrolled at our campus is going to get a free breakfast and a free lunch, one breakfast and one lunch every day. So there is no paying for those meals. We have free breakfast and free lunch for every student. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please reach out to the school, and we have a lot of information at waimeaelementary.org.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Tamura. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate your time and spending here with us and presenting those updates about Waimea Elementary. Thank you. Next, I'd like to welcome, if you're ready, Janice English, our Waimea Middle School principal. Make sure I'm muted there.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Thanks for joining us, and the floor is yours here.
Thanks. So we aligned with the complex, the North Hawaii complex, and we will be running a very similar schedule to the Waimea Elementary schedule. So everything Scott said, we will slightly deviate by that, but we're going to be primarily an AB schedule where students attend school. The cohort A will attend school on Mondays and Thursdays, and cohort B will be Tuesdays and Fridays, with C being our all virtual day for some students, and then the special populations we will bring to campus also, special education, migrant, and any other students who might need additional help. One thing we did do is we sent home a really pretty green piece of paper that has all the instructions. And because we were slightly late to the party based on the fact that we took a little more time to adopt the Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, Wednesday off schedule, we hand delivered. So far, 2/3 of our families got a hand delivery of the notification of how we're going to run school. There's a little calendar on the back. It reminds me of the lunch menu calendars. This is your day calendars. Then, of course, we have 9 days preceding that are half days. So the biggest difference between Waimea Elementary and Waimea Middle is we're going to run a staggered start. We have 2 buses that will fit up to 25 students per bus. And therefore, if the students sit window to window, they're 6 feet apart this way, even if they're, I think it's 1.5 feet this way, but they're 6 feet apart window to window. And we have the seats wrapped with shrink wrap so that it's safe. And that way we can wipe it off in between runs. 3 runs in the morning. 6th graders will be picked up at 8. 7th graders will be picked up at 10. And 8th graders will be picked up at 9. You might ask, why is it not in order? Well, the 6th graders have a K courtyard, and that's their little K bubble. And the 8th graders have the 2nd floor of the Z building. That's their bubble. And then the 7th graders are split apart. So ideally, 10 students per classroom, no more than 50 students in a cohort by grade level. And the grade levels are separated by distance on the campus.
Thank you, Janice. Any last words you'd like to say about Waimea Middle and any other plans you'd like to share?
We'll only be serving lunch and that'll be on a grab and go, and the cafeteria is the same as Waimea Elementary. So that staff will be working pretty hard to feed 600 students on the elementary side, 250 students on the middle school side, and any families that come in between if they're permitted to pick up a grab and go on their opposite days. So that we can do 1 meal a day with the support of Waimea L's CAF. So we're doing the best we can for the families of Waimea Middle.
Thank you so much, Janice. I appreciate sharing those updates and your time. Thank you for being here with us. Now we're going to be hearing from our Waimea Country School Head of School, Amy Salling. So Amy, when you're ready, you can unmute yourself and you're good to go.
Hi. Thank you very much to the Waimea Community Association for hosting this. I think it's really vital. One thing that I've learned over these last months is the importance of working together to really keep everyone safe. And for those of you who are unaware of us, we're a very small independent school. We have just 48 students in the whole school. We're virtually full at this point. We have 3 classes, K-1, a 2nd, 3rd, and a 4-5. And each of those classes we cap at 16. We are planning to open in person for full days starting on August 13th. And the plan is to really utilize outdoor space as much as possible. We just had our back lanai, we revamped a bit and put a nice roof on there so we can utilize that as outdoor space quite a bit. And I'm trying to convince all the teachers that there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. So please make sure that you come prepared to be outside as much as possible. We also will, because we're so small, we're almost a cohort in itself, but we're also looking at the possibility of staggering recess and things like that. We definitely will be doing recess. We'll definitely be doing physical education without masks because kids can't really run and play when they're wearing a mask, but we're working those things out. I feel very confident that we are going to be able to be successful, partly because we are so small and we have such a close-knit group of families in our ʻOhana. Communication has always been one of our hallmarks, and now more than ever, we really are able to talk story with families on a day-to-day basis. Very similar to what Scott, you're doing there at Waimea Elementary. We're having all of our families do wellness checks before they come to school. We are also we're fortunate to have one of our board members who's a nurse practitioner who volunteered herself to be an on-call person. So if families are concerned and are on the fence and don't know what to do, they can always reach out to her. Just today, fortunately, we were able to hire another person, a resource aide, who's able to pick up a lot of the cleaning and disinfecting that we're going to be doing all day long, and kind of taking that off of the teachers and the aides so we can make sure that we can keep our campus clean and safe as possible. But I've also been realistic and said, you know, after looking at what's happening on the mainland, and as soon as, you know, September 1st or later, whenever it happens, that there's a real possibility that we could get a spike in our own community, and we need to be prepared for that. So we are planning a distance learning program that we're going to be starting to teach and kind of set up at the beginning of the year. So if we do have to go into distance learning, hopefully it'll be fluid and easier to do than what happened in April, which was, as you all know, was quite an event and quite a stretch for a lot of us. So I think it's, you know, more than anything, as we look at anything that has to do with school, I think education is vital. I think communication is absolutely paramount in making sure that You know, if we have somebody traveling, that, you know, we have guidelines in place so we can deal with that, making sure that if any of our own families or our, you know, our teachers or aides get sick, what we can do about that. We have policies and procedures in place. We have everything posted on actually on our website, and I would encourage anybody who wants more information, you can download our COVID-19 response plan from our website, waimeacountryschool.org, and certainly always give me a call. It's really interesting. I've been getting a lot of calls in the last 4 or 5 days in particular from people who are on the mainland and are saying, hey, we've got to get out of here and get to Hawaii where it's safer. And so I think we're already seeing that there's going to be an influx of folks coming, but we've got to make sure that we're taking care of our population and our kupuna and our ohana here so that we can do a great job. Lastly, I've really told our teachers, and I firmly believe this, that more than anything, our keiki need, we really need to focus on that social, emotional, ethical piece. You know, they're going to learn to read, they're going to learn to do math, they're going to learn to do science, but we really need to take care of our kids. We've got to make sure that they're emotionally ready to cope in this world. And in order to do that, we really need to make sure that we're spending that time helping them and giving them a chance to be heard and how they're doing, and making sure that we're there to help them, support them. So.
Thank you, Amy. Appreciate your words there. Appreciate the update from Waimea Country School. Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to welcome actually a few administrators here from Kanu Aina. We'll be hearing from elementary school interim principal Keomailani Case, secondary school interim principal Kanoa Castro, and ʻOha, the virtual learning program interim principal Nicole Ryan. So the three of you are welcome to unmute yourself, and the floor is yours, and I'll give you your time. Thank you so much.
Aloha. Like he said, my name is Keomailani Case. I'm the new interim elementary po'o kumu of Kanoa Aina. Kanu is located in Pu'ukapu, Waimea, and is a K-12 Hawaiian focused charter school grounded in a pedagogy of aloha. For Kanu, we want to ensure that our reopening plan takes into account the health, social growth, and emotional and educational future of the entire Kanu ohana. Our goal for reopening for school year 2021 is to provide options that take ohana health and education into consideration. We're ready to be flexible with the uncertain changes in the time of COVID. The general information we put forward to ohana so far is that our keiki in grades K-2 will return to daily face-to-face learning, while our keiki in grades 3 to 12 will have a rotating schedule with alternating Fridays. Mahalo.
Aloha kākou. I'm Kanoa Castro, the interim principal for our upper school division. I think really the only thing, not the only thing I have to say, but some of the things I have to say is that we're a place-based, Aina-based, we believe in place-based, Aina-based education. And I really do feel, and we really do feel that despite COVID, as long as we're keeping our students safe, that we can still provide this type of education for the kids at our school. We have a more detailed reopening plan, but we shared it with our kumu and our families today. And at this time, we're not going to share those details just because we want to give, out of respect to our families, give them some time to digest it, go over it, get the email, and then look over it. So we're going to launch that plan fairly soon, and that'll be on our website at kanu.kalo.org for anyone to see. We are pretty full. There's a few openings in certain grade levels, but just to put that out there also. And we have Nicole Ryan who's also with us, and she can share a little bit about our virtual program. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Aloha everyone. Nicole Ryan, interim po'okula for ʻOha with Kanu Aina. Did you know you have an established virtual program in your town that is resilient? I don't think many people are aware that we have been with Kanu as a Kanu program for 5 years now. And so we've been doing this for a while. And the nice thing is, at least in a space like this, we are resilient. We do have a plan. So Kanu campus kids who might be wary of going back to campus for health reasons or any type of reason may have the opportunity to join ʻOha. And we also have separate admissions that are throughout all islands. So I have a little presentation I just wanted to share so you guys can see. Let me just get this thing to go away. And here we go. Had a little blip there. Hopefully you go, oh, sorry about that. Everything's getting in my way. Okay, so we are ʻOha, and we're based in Waimea. Our website is ʻoha.kanuokaina.org. Just a little bit about us. We're an ʻOhana-centered program, so we're all about embracing ʻOhana and working with ʻOhana and Makua parents to support their keiki. So it's important for us that we recognize that the parent is the first teacher, and we want to partner with parents. So we organize keiki in grade clusters, and each grade cluster has a highly qualified kumu that works with them to support them in really building a customized, personalized learning experience for their keiki. We offer an orientation. We offer some check-in testing for kids to make sure they're on track. Parents can feel confident of what they're doing and that their kids are on track at grade level. We also do interventions. We are, as Kanu is a public charter school, so we accept IEP 504 students. And we're currently at capacity, but we do have a wait list, and you'd be surprised with the turnover in these times. So if anyone is interested, I would encourage them to apply. But I wanted to point to the academic support that our kumu really put into this program. The heart of our program is our kumu and the dedication they have for all of our keiki. So the kumu help with teaching support, helping select curriculum, customize, making stuff local, place-based, relevant to your specific keiki. Really looking at grade progress, communicating, and most of all this year for social emotional learning. Normally we have Laho Lako Day, which is a one-day-a-week program on campus. This year we're really the virtual arm, and we've embraced that of Kanu Aina. So we're not going to be doing Laho Lako Day. Instead, we're going to be having Ohana Hui, which is basically hooking up Ohana in the same geographic area with the same age kids, perhaps with already established friendships, and really encouraging them to get together and in a safe environment where they can grow and learn socially and emotionally. So that's going to be one of our tasks this year. If you want any more information, I would encourage you to visit our website, kaoha.kanuokaina.org. And mahalo nui for having me and letting us share.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole, Kanoa, and Keomailani. Appreciate your time and sharing with us. And I also appreciate you, sharing with us that you sent out your plans to your ohana and your families, and that you're willing to be here with us and even just share a little bit. So thank you for your time and jumping on the call with us. Appreciate that. At this point, I would like to welcome our next guest. First of all, I'd like to say a big aloha and welcome to Stephen Dunn, who is the new head of school for Parker School as well. Welcome to Waimea, Stephen. Thank you for taking on this new leadership role in Waimea, especially during this difficult time. Mahalo. And the floor is yours, Stephen, when you're ready.
Aloha, James. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you for putting this forum together. I want to first offer my appreciation to my colleagues. I know we're here this evening with plans in place, and they represent a lot of work and a lot of hours and a lot of sleepless nights, worried about how we're going to care for the students in our school. So congratulations to all of you for being here tonight with plans in place. I'm in day 16 in my role at Parker School, so we're still in the process of developing exactly our plans, and we'll communicate those to our families soon. But I thought maybe a slightly different perspective on what we're thinking, and we're thinking in the context, kind of with a construct of compliance, with context, and with capacity. And we certainly want to be attentive to complying with all of the guidance and the orders and the recommendations from folks that are paying much closer attention to the health status and infection spread and the way that we keep our students and our faculty safe. We want to put that within the context of Hawaii County and in the smaller context of Waimea and what our local realities are as we're thinking about the decisions that we're making. And then of course we're thinking about capacity. We are still enrolling students in our classes, but we're watching that very carefully to make sure that we have the space and distancing that we need to protect our students. We are biased towards bringing our students back as much as we possibly can. We know that the American Academy of Pediatrics, for instance, says that all plans should start with the premise of getting students back to campus. Schools offer services that are much greater, and we heard from some of the schools today, much greater than just content knowledge, and from social emotional learning to nutrition to mental health interventions. It's important for growing children to be back in school, and so we certainly want to have our students close to us. Some of the adjustments that we are making, we're adjusting our start time for our upper and middle school students to allow for the protocols that others have talked about in the morning, health screenings and temperature checks. We know that that's going to take a little bit of time, so we're pushing back our start time to allow that to happen, and to also recognize that adolescents need a little bit more sleep in the morning. So we're going to provide them that opportunity. We've changed our staffing levels in some important areas so that we can attend to our facilities and the cleanliness, and have our bathrooms on a continuous rotation of being cleaned, so that we make sure that we're attending to those hygiene issues. And our class sizes, we're trying to keep them as small as we can. We have managed to have all of our sections in our middle and upper school at 16 students or less. And with our facilities, we feel like that we can manage the recommendations that the state has put out for distancing. So, and then the last thing, which is a bit of an echo of some of the things that my colleagues have said, is we're looking at our systems and the transition at Parker School to remote learning. Without some real consistent use of systems was tough, and so we're really thinking about how we model our practices every day, whether we're on campus or we're off, to make sure that consistency is there while we're building the relationships that are so important to our students. Schools, if we can say we were fortunate in a pandemic, schools were fortunate that that the pandemic happened near the end of the year, where the relationships were strong with teachers. If our distancing happens in October, when those relationships aren't necessarily as strong, that could be a very different story. So we're also going to focus a lot on building those relationships with their peers and with trusted adults. So we hope to have some final plans out very, very soon.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate your time and your update there. And next, I would like to welcome Dr. Amy Cole with the Hawaii Preparatory Academy, who is the Director of Studies there. Amy, the floor is yours when you're ready.
Aloha, and like my colleagues, thank you for letting us share today. Selfishly, I'm going to say thank you for introducing me to these fine people. I feel like I want to schedule a Zoom outside of this so we can share plans and maybe therapy. I want to acknowledge all the challenges that our families faced this year, our staff faced, and show some appreciation for the partnerships. That's really how we made it through. I'm sure that my colleagues would say the same thing. Our parents were just so patient and supportive, and they're my heroes. But I want to take this opportunity selfishly to do like a little shout out to our faculty, who in my opinion were rock stars. Like, they pivoted. I can't even, anyway. They're amazing. We do have a plan that's posted. Like everyone else, there's movement in it. We began building our plan early. We were building it while we were running our online program. like I'm sure everybody else here, we scoured every document we could get at from every organization with an acronym, CDC, World Health, APA, and we were connecting with other schools and quite frankly kind of stealing pieces here and there and feeling solid about it right now moving forward. But when we did this, we really knew that we needed to stay true to our mission. We did not intend to be an online school, like I'm sure many of you hadn't, and we wanted to make sure that we took that opportunity to figure out what did we learn from that, how can we continue to support our students with our mission, the HPA mission. We also recognize that our primary concern, like many others have said, is the academic, social, emotional, and physical safety of our students. And we want to be a good neighbor. We recognize that we bring residential students into the Waimea community, and so that was, we spent endless hours thinking about that and taking responsibility for that. So we do have a document that's on our website. I won't put it up because it's actually quite large and has a great picture of a kid on the front of it. And we have some FAQ pages, but again, some of those things are moving. Essentially, we built 3 plans. We built what we're calling our modified plan. In other words, what was HPA, but is now HPA with all of these safe practices and alternate schedules. We built a plan last year called the Continuous Learning Plan, which is basically our online plan should we need to move back to that. And we're revisiting that with all of the lessons learned throughout this year. And then we're acknowledging that there's this land in the middle, this hybrid land that is sort of like, we're going to name it planning for everything. So that one student that needs to be home, can we live stream for that student in the back? Is it a group of students? Is it a grade level? Is it a campus? And we won't fully know what that is until we figure out what that context is going to look like. And I imagine we would be getting those both guidance and direction from Department of Health when we start moving in that direction. The modified plan is what we're rolling out. We did make a commitment that we wanted to open up face-to-face for full academic day, full academic year. The only way we could pull that off was to get really creative. So we changed our schedules. We looked for spaces on our campus that were not normally classrooms and commandeered them. We are looking at creating cohort models, much like I think some others have mentioned, where students say for example, a 3rd grade would be split for the bulk of the week. We looked at not mixing students together, which is such a sadness for us, but something that we need to do in order to keep kids safe. We looked at minimizing congregation areas where students hang out in terms of meals. We also created policies, and we're in the middle of this, creating policies and procedures to minimize our risk, like some of the things that have again been mentioned, the health screenings, the attendance policies, our mask policies, and those will be rolling out in detail again, because information's been changing throughout the summer. Since we built that plan, we've been in our classrooms. If you can imagine moving all the desks out, putting blue tape down, trying to measure it out, trying to put hula hoops in there and figure out how many kids can fit there and put that number on the classroom. We've added some, or are adding some hand washing stations outside so we can encourage kids to not congregate in bathrooms. We're looking at sanitizing plans, campus access protocols, and as I said, we're looking at developing our testing and mask policies. In terms of our continuous learning plan, I said earlier, we're just reflecting on what went well, maybe what didn't go well, and trying to improve upon that and be ready for it. The schedules that we created at both lower, middle, and upper, we feel like could shift to online more easily. So we feel good about that. And at the close of the year, we pulled all the teachers together and just said, what is it that you've learned and how can we do it better and what resources do you need? As I said, hybrid could be anything. So we've put a computer in every classroom that could be used for Zoom, but we don't quite know what that's going to look like until that happens for us. And I guess finally, before I wrap up, again, I want to kind of reiterate that we recognize we're a residential program. So we are seeing students coming in if their visas can get approved from other countries, as well as where we're seeing an increase in domestic boarding students. And so we have a quarantine in place and a plan for being able to limit interactions with other students for that period. We're going to have a testing protocol in place for those students because we're really committed to the safety of everyone on our campus, as I'm sure you all are. And I guess the last thing I'll say is that, you know, our enrollment is strong. Like others, we've seen people moving to Hawaii during this time, which is interesting. We've held Zoom meetings within each division to try to answer questions from parents and hear their concerns. We know we can't satisfy everyone's concerns because they're all very different and answer all of their questions, but we're working hard to try to calm and provide a sense of safety. So our opening will reflect that. That first week will be bringing in families and letting them see the space and being able to have students see what it looks like to have a mask on. And we're kind of planning those pieces out right now. I could probably keep talking, as I'm sure everybody else could, but that's sort of us in a skinny. We're really dependent on our strong partnerships with our parents. So again, I want to kind of acknowledge how hard they worked and the faith that they put in us for this work. And mahalo for having us.
Thank you, Dr. Cole. Let's see, I'll just change it here. I just want to say one last thing. You know, we've now heard a little bit of the plans and the procedures that our Waimea schools are undertaking to ensure a safe learning environment during this time. We are very grateful for all of you that have joined us on the call here, all the administrators. Join this meeting to share out with the community. And as mentioned, please reach out to these individual schools if you have any follow-up questions, and please stay informed to any changes that may occur. Thank you, Scott, Janice, Amy, Keomailani, Kanoa, Nicole, Stephen, and Amy for your time and effort to help lead our schools during this challenging time. Mahalo nui.
Oh.
At this time, for our last guest this evening, we're gonna have a little conversation and hear from Representative David Tarnas with a legislative update. He will share with us a number of updates and give a recap of the work that was conducted by the Hawaiʻi State Legislature. If you have any questions for Representative Tarnas during his presentation, please share them in the live stream chat, and we'll try to capture and address as many as we can following Representative Tarnas's updates. Thank you, Representative Tarnas. The floor is yours, and I can load up your slides whenever you're ready.
Why don't you go ahead and please load up those slides. First, thanks very much, James, for facilitating this evening, and thanks to the Waimea Community Association for hosting this. This is very helpful to get the update from our school leaders, and I really want to express my appreciation. It's a very tough job, but we all rely on you, and we really appreciate your good work, and thanks for sharing with us your plans to carry out your really important mission to educate our kids. We just finished a unique legislative session. It sort of had 3 parts to it. What I'd like to do tonight is just give you a report on the legislature. I'm grateful to serve as your state representative, and it's been a greater challenge than I expected, and everyone can say that. This is an extremely challenging time. Hundreds of thousands of people are out of work, and you know, we expected our economy to continue to decline. We expect that we will have $2 billion less in tax revenue this year, and our people are hurting. And so the state is trying to get its unemployment insurance benefits paid to those who are qualified for it. And we've stumbled, and it's been very difficult for people. My office has done everything we could to try to help correct some of the problems, but it's been very difficult for people. Making ends meet, making sure there's food on the table. The state has paid out over $2 billion in unemployment insurance benefits since March 1st. I mean, these numbers are staggering. It really is. It's just, we do need to keep looking out for each other. And a big mahalo to those who are contributing charitable contributions to help organizations like the Food Basket buy food from local farmers here who are producing the food, who no longer have the market they used to have. So this food purchased with local charitable dollars from local farmers is then going to the Food Basket to give to local families who really need their help. And more people are asking for food that never have asked for food before. And these are unprecedented times. People are out of work, and they've never been out of work before. So have a lot of aloha for your neighbors. It's hard to see a lot of people. We're not used to this time apart. So I would just encourage you, if you haven't seen someone for a while, call them up on the phone. Especially if they're elderly, if they're homebound, loneliness is a real big challenge, and this time is even, it makes loneliness even a bigger challenge. So I just urge you to reach out to your kupuna friends who you haven't seen for a long time. So if I could go to the next slide there, James, and I'll go ahead and sort of give you an idea of what we're doing here. Next one, please. So we are, go ahead, James, the next slide. We're focusing on, first off, trying to stabilize our budget. The Council on Revenues projected a significant loss of revenue, a 7% shrinking of our economy. So now that was last year, the end of June. Our calendar for the fiscal calendar for the state starts July 1st. So we already were going into the fiscal year with significant losses planned. So we had to figure out how to pay for current programs and commitments. Then we needed to look forward to the fiscal year we've just started. It's FY21. We're projecting that we'll have a 12% drop in our revenues in economic activity in FY21. So it's significant. Like I say, it's about a $2 billion projected loss over the fiscal years that we're trying to produce a budget for. So we do think that based on some assumptions, the Council on Revenues projected that if we were to get travel resumed by late July or August, and a vaccine were available by the middle of FY22, then they've set out a projection going a couple of years down the road that we would have a 12% recovery in FY22. So based on the projections from the Council on Revenues, in the short term, the governor may have to make additional cuts, restricting funding that we appropriate at the legislature. And so we have a requirement that we can't spend more money than we bring in. So I expect that the governor will be having to make some restrictions, and we'll just have to wait and see how that unfolds. Let's go to the next slide, please. One of the ways that we were trying to address this issue of a budget shortfall is to allow the state to borrow some additional funds from the federal government. So we had to pass a bill to increase the limit on bond financing, and there is a federal source of that we authorized the EGA administration to borrow up to $2 billion. He's choosing to borrow perhaps up to $700 million is what he's currently estimating. Let's go to the next slide, please. One of the other ways we worked to balance the budget was by cutting the state budget by eliminating all vacant positions and any unspent funds identified by each department. We eliminated that. And then we took all the aggregated savings and unused special funds, and then in some cases we replaced general fund financing with bond financing. Different techniques basically to try to balance the budget. Please go ahead. One of the key ways that government can help to strengthen our economy, especially during a time when we're not having a lot of economic activity because of the lack of tourists. One of the ways that government can help to stimulate the economy is through public infrastructure projects. So it was really important that we do pass a strong capital improvement project budget. And I'm very grateful that we were able to include in there major projects that we have been trying to get funded for many years. Here in Waimea, we've been working on improvements to make our roads safer. We were able to get the legislature to support $22 million to pay for safety improvement projects in the Waimea area. These are on Waihai Road, through town, intersection between Waihai Road and Lindsay Road, intersection between Mamalohoa and Lindsay Road, other improvements on Mamalohoa, and then also the beginnings of planning for a bypass that would go from Waihai Road by about 1,000-foot elevation out around the Lalomilo farm lots and end up on Mamalahoa Highway out by the airport. These are big projects, and it's tough to get started, but we were able to get started. $22 million to get those projects started. The project is just starting its environmental impact statement work, and so be alert, and we can keep you informed so that everyone can be involved in the planning for that project. The second big project we were able to get funded is the Saddle Road Extension project. This is of island-wide importance, and it's a big win for us to be able to get this. $90 million in state funds. It would extend the Saddle Road Highway from its terminus at Mamalahoa Highway all the way down to Queen Kahumanu. And it will facilitate cross-island traffic for trucks and commuters. It would also assist by having the military convoy go up that road rather than Waikoloa Road. The environmental report is almost completed, and with this funding, this will allow us the necessary resources to go forward on that. And so, again, those will be projects that will be involving the community. They'll come back to us with their recommended alignment for the road, as well as the intersection improvements at Mamalahoa. There's been a lot of discussion about those. The third project, Waiaka Bridge. This we've already put in about $6 million. We just put in another $4 million, and this is to help pay for additional costs to purchase the property, as well as some additional design and planning funds that were needed. So we should be seeing some public announcement about this project very soon as well. They're going to come to us in the community now that they're fully funded to move forward and talk to us about what kind of alignment do we want to have at the intersection of Kohala Mountain Road and Kawaihae Road and the replacement bridge. There's a number of different proposals, and there was previous work done on this. An EA was done that was never completed. We had designs for a roundabout. We had designs for a T of different angles. We'll go through all that again to ask your input. So all of the commuters who come through, certainly HPA, you're right next door, all the neighborhoods close by will need to be involved, because we all use Waiaka Bridge to come and go. And so it's going to be a very important improvement. And so your involvement in that will be very important. And then we got some additional money for some Kawaihae Road safety improvements as well. Mostly, it includes a number of things, but among them is a runaway truck ramp, which we really need. Could you go on to the next slide, please? These are additional projects that we were able to move forward in the budget as well. We extended the financing for Waikoloa Library land purchase. We had not finished the deal and the money was going to lapse, so we were able to extend that money. We were able to extend the money to purchase the parking lot next to the post office, and because that was going to lapse and we hadn't finished that deal. And so that was extended. So that was another good thing we got in the budget. And that project is moving forward. It's still not completed, but it's moving forward. Waikoloa Library parcel is still moving forward, but we've got a challenge because we don't have a clearance from the Corps of Engineers that they took away all of the UXO. So we're still working on that. But fear not, we keep persevering. We'll figure it out. Waimea Middle School, we were able to change the language in our appropriations there so they can use the funds not just for the steam building repairs and weatherization, but also to replace the school's aging phone and communication system, which will be very important, and we especially know that now. And finally, the North Kohala Agricultural Water Project is an important project to help sustain our ag production in the North Kohala area. James, could you go to the next slide, please? I won't go through all these, but these are different grant and aid that we were able to give in the 2019 session. We were not able to give any in the 2020 session. So there's a couple in Waimea here, and Kohala. Kohala, Hawaii Institute of Pacific Agriculture does a hub up in Kohala to aggregate produce from local farmers, and one of their markets is the school cafeteria. We also were able to give a grant to Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization, which is based here in Waimea. It works statewide and is very effective at helping us reduce our wildfire risk. And then finally, the Waimea Outdoor Circle. We were able to get them some support to do improvements on their roadway, pave their roadway in Ulula'au Nature Park. So grateful for all the support we were able to get there. James, we can go on to the next one, and I'll just now run through some of the COVID bills that we were able to pass and then some legislation. You've read all this in the newspaper, but what we did, the federal government, they passed some COVID aid, COVID-19 relief initiatives, and these are aid to the states. So we got about $1.3 billion to the state government to address COVID-19. We had to pass budget bills to appropriate those to different state and county agencies. And so we've done that in the bills that I'll describe briefly. In addition to those $1.3 billion in federal funds, we also received $7.7 billion in federal funds through various other federal programs. So we've been strongly supported by the federal government. And so let's go to the next slide, please. We have allocated, you can go through and read this, but we tried to divide up the funds that we were getting into those that really were of immediate priority, whether it's providing for Department of Defense for purchase of personal protective equipment, to paying DOT, make sure they had the money for thermal screening at airports. We put money into the unemployment insurance system and the fund money into EBT and SNAP, and also money into DOH so they can actually work to manage the contact tracing, testing, and purchasing of PPE. And I wanted to highlight that of the money that we allocated to the counties, we were able to designate $80 million for Hawaii counties specifically. And that money, now the county is getting it out to the community through various different programs. And so that is something that's going to help us get through these tough times. Let's go to the next slide, please. The other appropriation that the federal government gave to us that we then allocated to different programs was through the CARES Act funding for direct program support. So we put in $230 million into unemployment insurance assistance just to help to pay for what those increasing costs there. Housing relief and resiliency program, $100 million there. Child care grant, $15 million, and you can read the rest there. Food assistance is one I want to point out. You know, $5 million for food assistance to families in need, $3 million to help purchase the fish in order so that we can get them into the meals and get them to our community. And I want to mention that last one there, public high school graduates. We were knowing that some of these graduates, or many of these high school graduates, they didn't get that last semester of school to really help them prepare to move forward. So we specifically appropriated some funds to support the 2020 graduates to help, which including access to college counseling and online classes. Next slide, please. Okay, you're probably all worn out with all these words, but let's just quickly go through some top legislation. Next slide, please. You can get more details here, capital.hawaii.gov. Go ahead, please. So these are some of the bills that we are passing in education, and I'll just explain briefly what these are. HB 2543, that basically expands the preschool open doors program. It expands our publicly funded early learning program. The next bill supports that. The following bill on school facilities agency, we're going to try something new to help improve DOE facilities construction management. I can give you more details if you're interested. HB 1523 is basically appropriating CARES Act money to the DOE. And then the last one is to support the Pacific International Space Center for Exploration Systems, which is attached to UH-ELO. You want to go to the next one, please? So relating to public safety and justice, a big bill that a lot of public attention was HB 285. We're basically now requiring police departments to report instances of officer misconduct, and also establishing a law enforcement standards board to establish policies about various things, including use of force. The next bill on 1620 is an important step to help get nonviolent defendants who are deemed unfit for trial due to mental health issues diverted out of the jail system and into the mental health treatment system. Let's go to a couple different bills on gun violence prevention. And then the one I want to mention on highway safety is actually on Oahu. It's a photo red light imaging detector system. It basically does to take pictures of people running red lights. They're going to run a pilot project in Waikiki first, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, we just got another minute or two to go. Agriculture, the legislature passed an industrial hemp production bill to allow for industrial hemp in Hawaii. And then we passed another bill on agricultural buildings. This was something that the counties were asking for, just as, so they can come and make sure that the ag buildings are in fact ag buildings and not built in the setback. Finally, under environment, the next one, I guess we have coastal zone management. It has to do with sea level rise, incorporating sea level rise and coastal erosion protection. And then we passed a bill that would help us to continue addressing little fire ants, which is a major problem here. And the Office of Planning, we created a new sustainability division. And then I guess I have one more slide, and that'll be my last one. We changed the family leave laws to extend family leave to include care of grandchildren. And then the last bill I want to emphasize is the last one there, HB 2425, which is expanding the definition of domestic abuse to include coercive control. This was a bill that was suggested by a resident, a group of residents here in our district, and I appreciate Barbara Gerbert for her educating me about this, and we were able to pass the bill to make this important change that will help us in domestic abuse protection and prevention. So let's go to the last slide, and I want to say thank you to everyone. That's an overview of the legislation that we passed, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but you can also just email me or call me, and I send out a newsletter very regularly, and I'm told that they're very helpful and informative. So if you too want a newsletter, this is where you can sign up. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to respond to any questions. Back to you, James.
Thank you, Representative Tarnas. Appreciate all your knowledge on everything there and sharing all these details on all these bills and the importance of the work that you're doing. Let's see, so I do have one question that came in from the live stream, and I'm sure people can always reach out to you with other questions going forward. And so I'll give you this question, and then you're welcome to touch on other things if you'd like, go in more detail, or the floor is yours for a few minutes if you'd like, until we get some other questions in on the live stream. So this question does kind of relate to what we've been talking about tonight and hearing from our school administrators and our academic institutions here. And you might be familiar with this as well at the state legislature. The question is, many families are having to choose between work and educating their children during this time. How can we solve our childcare issue? Is there additional funding available for programs such as Aina Kids?
We did provide some additional funding for childcare providers so that they can get assistance and so if you are running a childcare operation, and if you want to get details on that, please let me know. I can give you details. But the short answer is, parents, I would suggest that you should call or email Patch, P-A-T-C-H. They normally do pre-K childcare referrals, but they can work with parents to provide them with recommendations for childcare for school-age kids too. Aina Kids, which runs the A+ program, has been doing a program over the summer, and they and we've heard that they hope to extend or possibly expand into this fall, but this is really contingent on the county facility where they've been holding the program actually allowing them to continue there, which is a question where they are inquiring. I know that our councilman Tim Richards is working on this as well. We recognize that this is a real challenge when working parents have to go to work, and yet they've got this young child at home because they can't go to school for 5 days a week. So that's our best suggestion so far. We're still trying to work on that. I know that if you have a concern, please bring it up with your principal. They would help try to figure out an answer to this as well. But that's the latest I have.
Thank you, Representative. We still have a few minutes with you if you'd like to talk about anything else. The floor is yours for a couple minutes if you'd like to share anything else from your experience at the close of the session, the recess of the session. You're welcome to have a couple minutes here if you'd like.
Thank you. I guess it would be useful for you. It was useful for you to just get a sense of that it was a very different kind of legislature, because usually when we're there, we're working with each other, we're talking to each other, we're always gathering, but that all went by the wayside. So everything, we didn't even have the opportunity for hearings and having people come in to give testimony and we can ask questions. So it was a real challenge, but I think the silver lining is that it's forcing the legislature to figure out how to accommodate remote participation. And we do need to figure out how to make it work so that neighbor islanders can testify on bills and not have to fly over to Honolulu. This has been a long time goal of representatives and senators from our area here. And I have a bill that would have set this up, and yet there was great reluctance to pass this last session. And now you think about it, had we actually started the process, we would have been further ahead and not be stumbling so much as what we're stumbling right now. So we have to do some basic things at the Capitol just to make this work. We find that we've got bandwidth limitations at the Capitol to be able to accommodate all of the hearings that are happening all at the same time. For us to be able to broadcast, live stream, we've got to improve our capacity. And that's just at the Capitol. What we're talking about is a reflection statewide. Students have a hard time getting access to their online resources because their bandwidth is limited. They don't have access to a device. They don't have access to the internet. So we're having to face some of these key issues for making distance learning work. And I really acknowledge all the because it's a huge challenge. And I know many of you have been doing it for some time and you are ahead of the curve, but I hear a lot of people struggling. And so that's one of the big things we're trying to figure out is how do we support the education system to be able to meet the needs of the students as best as possible through online educational programming. And we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. So that's one of our unique challenges. And I would welcome input from any of the professionals here on this call. From your experience, what do we need to do to strengthen our capacity here in the state? Back to you, James.
Thank you, Representative. And so that's a call out to the viewers here. If you do have questions for any of the particular guests that joined us tonight, please reach out to those institutions, those schools, and of course reach out to your Representative David Tarnas if you have particular questions about the bills that you saw and you heard about. There's a lot of information there, and we were able to capture a little bit. And I hope you learned quite a bit from Representative Tarnas's wealth of knowledge there. So I appreciate that. So mahalo, Representative Tarnas, for your tireless work. We appreciate your attention to detail and the care you show for our communities. Mahalo.
Thank you.
And let's see, before we close our meeting tonight, I want to thank everyone for joining us here. I just want to make a couple of announcements. Mahalo nui to all of our presenters. We heard from Captain Sherry Bird, one of our, captain for our community police department here in South Kohala in Waimea specifically. And then we heard from Patti Cook, one of our WCA board members and Assistant Secretary to talk about voting and the importance of voting in this primary election. Then we had a good chunk of time to spend with our school administrators, and we learned a bit about their plans and their procedures and policies that they're pursuing and are adapting to during this difficult time. So thank you to Waimea Elementary School Principal Scott Tamura, Waimea Middle School Principal Janice English, Waimea Country School Head of School Amy Salling, Kanu Aina, we had Elementary School Interim Principal Keomailani Case, Secondary School Interim Principal Kanoa Castro, and ʻOha, the Virtual Learning Program Interim Principal Nicole Ryan. And we also heard from the new Head of School, Stephen Dunn at Parker School, as well as Director of Studies, Dr. Nicole at Hawaiʻi Preparatory Academy. And then, of course, lastly, we heard from Representative Tarnas about legislative updates and the importance for our community here. So thank you to all the presenters and guests for joining us on the call and sharing your wealth of knowledge and time to update the community here. It's very important for us to learn these things. So going forward, we do plan on holding our monthly town meetings on the first Thursday of the month. I know this was kind of an odd one here, but going forward, we're going to try and get back to our regular schedule. And at this time, we're still expecting to be in a virtual setting. Our next scheduled meeting is Thursday, August 6th, and we are planning to have more discussion about COVID-19, the reopening of the state, and the current impact to our local economy. And we will keep you informed about the details and the specifics as we get closer to that. So once again, thank you to all the viewers for joining us on the live stream. You are welcome to revisit and rewatch this recording on the Waimea Community Association Facebook page, as well as up on the Waimea Community Association YouTube channel, which will be posted towards the end of at the end of this week. We'll get it up there. On behalf of the Waimea Community Association Board, I wish you good health, be well, aloha.